Hurricanes, a memoir. Rick Ross is an indomitable presence in the music industry, but few people know his full story. Now, for the first time, Ross offers a vivid, dramatic, and unexpectedly candid account of his early childhood, his tumultuous adolescence and his dramatic ascendancy in the world of hip-hop. Born William Leonard Roberts II, Ross grew up across the bridge, in a Miami at odds with the glitzy beaches, nightclubs, and yachts of South Beach. In the aftermath of the 1980 race riots and the Mariel boat lift, Ross came of age at the height of the city's crack epidemic, when home invasions and execution-style killings were commonplace. Still, in the midst of the chaos and danger that surrounded him, Ross flourished, first as a standout high school football player and then as a dope boy in Carol City's notorious Matchbox housing projects. All the while he honed his musical talent, overcoming setback after setback until a song called Hustlin' changed his life forever. From the making of Hustlin' to his first major label deal with Def Jam, to the controversy surrounding his past as a correctional officer and the numerous health scares, arrests, and feuds he had to transcend along the way, Hurricanes is a revealing portrait of one of the biggest stars in the rap game, and an intimate look at the birth of an artist. Miami is the southernmost metropolitan city in the United States. This is a Miami story, but it starts someplace else. About 1,000 miles away, in a region that's been called the most southern place on Earth. I'm not talking about Antarctica. I'm talking about the Mississippi Delta. I was born on January 28, 1976, in Clarksdale, Mississippi. My parents had already moved from Mississippi to Florida a few months prior, in the fall of '75. But a week before my mama was due, she decided to go back. Not for long. We'd all be back in Miami a few weeks later. My mama just wanted me to come into this world surrounded by family. In the place she still considered home. Clarksdale. The golden buckle on the cotton belt. My maternal grandparents, Tommy Fields Jr. and Rosie Lee McAfee Fields, were born and raised in Alligator, Mississippi, a small town in Bolivar County. After they married in 1947, Tommy and Rosie Lee relocated to the outskirts of Shelby, Mississippi, where my granddaddy rented a 40-acre plot of farmland. These were the days of sharecropping, and with the help of some Mexicans he had working for him, my granddaddy worked a cotton field. When the crops came in, he'd turn over most of his haul to the white landowner as rent. On December 27, 1950, my grandparents welcomed their first child. My mama, Tommy Ann Fields. She would soon be followed by my uncles and aunties Sammy, Irma, Larry, Edward, Brenda, and Linda. My mama grew up a real country girl in Shelby. She and her siblings would ride the neighbors' cows and explore the countryside looking for pecans to pick up off the ground. As the eldest of 7, she learned to perform all the daily tasks and responsibilities that farm life consists of. She fed the hogs, picked greens from the garden, and hung meats inside of the smokehouse out back. She could cut wood with a crosscut saw and was more than comfortable handling weapons. My granddaddy kept a lot of guns around. .22 target pistols. .38 special revolvers. .357 magnums. And those were just the handguns. There were all different types of pistols, rifles, and shotguns lying around the house. Shelby was less than an hour away from Money, Mississippi, where in August of 1955 a 14-year-old black boy from Chicago named Emmett Till was kidnapped from his uncle's home and murdered by 2 white men. His crime? Whistling at a white woman at a grocery store. A month after his body was found floating in the Tallahatchie River, his 2 killers were acquitted on all charges. Last night I cried tears of joy. What did we do to deserve this? Not to dwell on the past but to keep it real, I gotta represent for Emmett Till all the dead souls in the field looking at my Raleigh. It's about that time white man had a problem with mine and we supposed to be shy. The revolution's televised, Bobby still on the rise. My granddaddy was not a violent man, nor was he a civil rights activist. He was a family man, a farmer, and a quartet gospel singer in his church. But nobody was going to be snatching his babies up in the middle of the night. If a mob of Ku Klux Klansmen showed up to his doorstep, he was going to put at least a few of those motherfuckers in the dirt. That's what all the guns were for. When my mama was 9 years old, the Fields' family home burned to the ground following an electrical fire. The incident initiated their move to Clarksdale, where Rosie Lee's parents, my great-grandparents, Claude and Amy McAfee, took them into their home on Barnes Avenue until my grandparents got back on their feet. My granddaddy hadn't made it past the 8th grade, but he didn't allow that to limit him. He was in constant search of the next bigger and better opportunity to provide for his growing family. He didn't need a formal education to see that sharecropping as an American institution was dying off. Mechanical cotton pickers were taking over the work that once required black plantation hands. So he retired from his days as a tenant farmer and took a job at a meat packing business in Clarksdale called Delta Packing Company. He worked there for a few years and then got a job in the oil mill, which paid a little bit more. This allowed him to move his family out of his in-laws' home and buy a house of their own down the street for $3,000. But Rosie Lee was keeping the kids coming, so it wasn't long before the oil mill wasn't paying enough either. The Fields family was going to need a bigger house. That's when my granddaddy started making the hour-and-a-half drive up Highway 6I to go to work in Memphis, Tennessee. There he became a driver, then a mechanic at the Campbell Trucking Company. He rose up the ranks, eventually becoming their first black supervisor. A guinea pig for the company's first attempts at racial integration. ____.